Hi, I'm Anthony from Cindy Backyard Veggies, and this afternoon I'm over at my second planting of tomatoes. I planted these out about 3 weeks ago and they seem to be doing okay, but they seem to be a bit sluggish at the moment, so I'm going to come through here and just do a bit of work on these tomatoes to really get them up to speed and flourishing. We've had a lot of rain in December and I find all that water has made them really struggle. So I'm going to come and show you what I'm going to do and what fertilizers I'll add now just to really help them along. But before that, I'll take you through and show you my tomato plantings. So before I start doing any work on my tomatoes, I just want to take you through what I've planted out here at the moment. I've got 10 tomato plants planted in the second patch, and I've planted them on my north facing side of my west garden bed, so they get full sun all day. Now I've got two varieties here. On the left hand side I've got my ox hearts. This is a seed that my dad had saved for me, and on the right hand side this is a indeterminate Roma variety. So this will be a Roma tomato. It's a commercial grade tomato. I will share a link to the variety in the description, and this needs to be staked. So unlike your standard Romas, these need to be staked. Now looking at them, they just seem to me a bit sluggish. They've been doing okay, but I feel that they're just struggling a bit, I'll say, with the water, and they've shown a little bit of insect damage and the like. So I'm just going to come through here and probably just look at adding some amendments to really help them along. Like this one here, it just seems to be really sluggish, and it could have been that they had aphids earlier on, but I have treated them, and I'm going to give them a quick treatment now again. But what I'm going to do first is to come through and weed this bed. I'll probably use my wire weed. I'll clear out all the weeds here, and then I'll come and show you some amendments that I'm going to add just to really get them going. So now that I've weeded my tomato plants, I'm going to add some amendments. The tomato plants look a bit sluggish to me, and they're a bit yellow in colour on the leaves. They're not a deep green. So especially at plants at this stage, the earliest part, if they are struggling like that, I find that adding a little bit of Epsom salt to each of the plants really helps them green up and get over this initial, what I feel is transplant shock, or shock from a lot of water when they were first planted. This adds magnesium to the plants, and it really gives them that additional, burst of energy. I learned this technique from my dad, and I'm pretty sure it's a lot of people use this technique online, and it actually has worked with me. I usually use it a lot on tomatoes and cucumbers. I find, especially when they are struggling at that initial stage, it's usually two things: either an insect that's sucking, an insect like an aphid that's sucking on them, or that they just need a little bit of magnesium from the Epsom salt. So I'm going to add that to around each of the plants and get it watered in. But also, because they're still quite small, and it's about 3 weeks, 3 or 4 weeks now, so I need to give them a bit. I don't like doing this, but I need to give them a little bit of nitrogen just to get them going. So I'm going to add just a little bit of dynamic lifter chicken manure pellets to each of the plants. Now that's just going to give them just enough nitrogen just to really get them going. The idea is that I don't like generally putting too much nitrogen on tomatoes, because I end up getting a lot of leaves at expense of fruit, and I end up spending the whole time pruning. But with gardening, you've really got to look at your plants and understand what they need, and at this stage I feel a little bit of nitrogen really will get them going, and so I will add that as well. I wouldn't need to be adding potash to these plants, but potash will be added in, say, about another 3 weeks time when I come through and stake my tomatoes. But first things first, I'm going to come through, do a light prune on the lower leaves and add my amendments, and I'll show you how I do that. Okay, so this is my tomato plant, and you can see that there's a few lower leaves. They're quite damaged. So what I'm going to do is, I'm actually not going to prune too much of these plants. All I'm going to do is actually remove that lower leaf, and just to take those leaves off the floor and stop anything, any vectors for insects or diseases. And what I'll do is just add just a small handful of Epsom salt, and just what you do is just spin it just spread it around the plant like that. You know, it's perfectly fine if you want to add a little bit more, but I feel that's about enough. And then just a small handful of chicken manure pellets just around the base. Now what I'll do is I'll come through and water in the Epsom salt and just put water around the plant just to dissolve that the Epsom salt. But that's it. I won't do anything more to that. I will come back. They are starting to get, they're still a bit young, but I will come back and stake these in about 2 weeks time. But at this stage, that's fine. I'm going to continue on and add in the amendments to the rest of the plants. With this one, just again pruning off those lower leaves. There you go. Add in a little bit of Epsom salt and a little bit of chicken manure pellets. That's it. That's ready now to be watered. So now that I've added my amendments, I've come through and watered in the Epsom salt and the glyphtha pellets, and now that should be fine. I will be coming through in the next 2 weeks and adding first round of potash to these tomatoes and starting to stake them. Now hopefully with the magnesium that I've added now to the plants, they should really start firing along. I will come through and stake and prune, and I will start showing you how I do that. But also before I finish off here, I'm going to end up giving them, I'm going to give them a quick spray of pyrethrum and wettable sulfur just to control any caterpillars that are on those plants, but also just to keep off any of the diseases. There are some of the lower leaves that I pruned were a bit disease ridden, so might just give them a bit of a spray just to control any further spread. But happy that's done. I plant these tomatoes quite late in the season, relatively speaking, just to work around the fruit fly strike. When these start producing in about March, I'm expecting that the majority of the fruit flies would have moved on, so I'll be able to get a good harvest of tomatoes without any damage to them. So happy with that. Gonna go now and see what else there is to do around the patch. So this afternoon I'm over at my cucumber plants. This is the second planting that I did a video just recently on how I trellised them, and these plants are now ready for their first application of fertilizer. They're just actually starting to produce, so I really want to get the fertilizer onto them now to really help those plants along and really produce at their full potential. But before I go through the fertilizer I'm going to add to these plants, I'm going to come and show you where my cucumbers are at the moment. So this is my second planting of cucumbers. These were planted start of December as seedlings, so they're about 4 weeks now in the ground, and last week I did a video on how I trellised them, but I just wanted to show you where my cucumbers are at the moment. If we come closer, you'll see I'm just about to start getting a harvest of these cucumbers. These cucumbers are less than, I reckon, 4 days away from being harvested. So at the end of this week I'll be definitely harvesting this fruit. But I wanted to show you something about this variety. This variety is called Craig. This variety is a greenhouse variety, and what it does is it actually only puts out female flowers, and as you can see, just come up and it's just all female flowers. So which is really makes it really highly productive. They're self-fertile, funny enough. They're just able to produce their fruits without cross-pollination from other cucumbers. I'm going to come through and add some fertilizer to these because they're at that point now where they are needing to get that extra boost to really help them produce. But while I'm here, before I start, I'll go through and work on trellising my tomatoes and trellising my cucumbers and training them around the vine. Now, this is like a daily job that I do. There you go, just put it across around like that, and this way it just keeps the plants upright and doing well. So, but now that I've had a quick look and showed you what they are, how they're doing, I will go and start adding my amendments to these beds. So before I add my fertilizer, I just want to go through what I'm going to be using. With a lot of my fruiting veggies, I look at adding a lot of nitrogen. So in this case, chicken manure pellets. I have added a bit of sulfate of ammonia earlier in the stage when they were first planted, and now a side dress of dynamic lifter pellets is appropriate, and I'll do this probably every 3 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks. I'll add another small handful to each of the base of the plants. On top of that, I like to add potash, sulfate of potash. It really aids with the plant's fruiting, and again I'll use a small handful to each base of each plant. I will do this probably every 8 weeks, and the dynamic lifter pellets every 4. Now that I've done applying that fertilizer to the cucumbers, I'll give them a decent water using the irrigation, and I'll come through during the week and just check up on them and see if there's anything ready to harvest. I'm expecting to start harvesting in about 4 days. A few of the cucumbers are just ready to get picked, but yeah, really happy with this second crop. It's actually been growing quite fast. You know, from planting out seedlings to producing, it's been about 4 weeks, so really happy with their progress. And just about to start a last round of cucumbers, but those will be direct seeded, and I should be doing that over the next few days. So I will do a video on how I direct seed my cucumbers, and that will be in a later video. I'm over at my corn patch this afternoon. I'm going to go harvest a few ears of corn. They're all looking pretty ready to go, and I've already harvested a few over the last few days. But before I harvest, I just want to show you the crop and how it looks at the moment, and then see if I can pick a few ears. So this is my corn patch, and I planted these, I believe it was in early October, so as seedlings. So it was about 2.5 months ago. The variety is called Max. And this is the variety I've been planting every year, and it usually puts out 1 to 2 good ears of corn per plant. I have done a few videos on how I've planted these out and how I fertilized them, and I will add them into the description notes below. But one thing I do want to show you before I start harvesting is that this corn has a habit of where the tassels are, that it does actually produce some corn, and that can be eaten. Like I've eaten it in the past, but generally speaking, I come through and feed them to my chooks. It's actually a nice cheap feed, easy feed for the chickens. But what we are here for, and I'll bring you across to some of these big ears. So this time round, I only got generally one full ear per plant, but I have in the past grown out 2 ears per corn plant, but I'm hoping that my next planting will be able to do that. But what I might do is I'll show you what I'm looking for when I'm coming to harvest. But generally speaking, I try to harvest my ears about 3 weeks after the first tassels show, and so that's my first indicator. But once I get to that 3-week mark, what I try to do is I inspect the ears and see where they're at. So I'll show you what I'm looking for when I come to harvesting. So coming over to one of the ears, and what I'd first like to do is actually just feel. If it feels filled out, it's a good sign. But what I also like to do is peel back the ear, so see if you can see what the ear's doing. You can see that it looks amazing. Now if you pulled that back a bit earlier, it won't harm the ear. What I'll do is I'll just close it up, and it will give it a few more days to grow out. But this ear specifically, you can see the ears are quite, the kernels are quite orange, yellow. It just looks ready to go. I mean, I'm comfortable with harvesting that. Sometimes you get cabbage, sometimes you get caterpillar damage at the top here, but this one isn't, which is thankful. It has gone pretty much, I would argue it's gone all the way. The pollination's gone all the way to the top of the ear. Look, it could have gone a little bit more, but that's fine. So I'll just pick that, pull it down, And then just to show you what it looks like. Perfect. There you go. Perfect ear of corn. Now, one thing you want to make sure when you're picking your corn, if your kernels start looking shriveled up and dried out, that's gone way too far. You've left it for a couple of days too long, but that is perfect. You can eat these fresh now, but their flavors in freshly picked corn is unbelievable. It almost tastes like as if someone's put sugar syrup across your corn. It's actually a real treat. So happy with how this looks. I'm going to come through and actually harvest a few ears now and to take them inside for dinner, but I will see what I can end up with. I don't need to harvest all of it at the same time, but I will harvest a few now. There you go, beautiful. So I just finished my harvest and I harvested a total of 6 ears of corn today. So there you go, beautiful. The key is I'm not going to pull the cob out of its wrapper. I find it stores better like that, but these won't last long in the fridge. These will be eaten tonight. I'm really glad that I'm harvesting my corn at the moment. I'm expecting that I'll have the rest of this harvest done this week, and what I'm trying to do is for this spot here is I'm planning to plan out my first broccoli for the season in this spot. I still get a lot of sun here and it'll be good to get that quick crop of broccoli out of this patch before the winter comes and this area is all under full shade. So happy with that. Look, thank you very much everyone for joining me in this video. I really appreciate all the support, and I hope you have success and luck in your veggie patch wherever you are, and I hope to see you in the next one.